Big 12 also got a much-needed win last night by Grant McCasland and the, my God, Red Raiders, who I gave up on them. I did. I bet you did. In fact, I got to share this. Kim Coulter, yesterday, very late, sent me a text that said, what a disappointment, or something to that, I guess, note. And then I said to him, it's still early. There was like 11 minutes and 45 seconds or so to go. They were down 16 at the time. Now, it didn't look good. And Calipari and Arkansas, they had a good thing going. And then next thing you know, my goodness, it all started because of a 4 offensive rebound possession from Federico, and they ended up scoring. It still only put them within 11, but it seemed like it just turned on the motor, and Arkansas could not breathe in the end. And Texas Tech and Grant McCasland with a huge win. Here's a couple of graphics on them. First of all, there's that Texas Tech basketball Twitter account. Makes sense. Believe, give, compete, advance. There were a few that said toughest team wins. There's that one too. They, at one point in that game, on ESPN, they had a 1.9% chance of winning the game. And there's the tweet about that 1%. As they came back and also won that game.
You know, Calipari, you know, it's funny. We've talked about in football with Mario Cristobal, like falling into some bad habits at the end of games. Do you remember the 2008 national championship game?
Was that against Memphis?
Oh, that was against Kansas.
Kansas. Kansas, that's right.
He was the coach in Memphis in 2008.
Yeah, that's right.
2 things happened that allowed Kansas to get back and win that game. One was Memphis could not make a free throw at all. The second thing that happened was they were up 3, and he decided not to foul, and Mario Chalmers buried the game winner, or the game tire. You know,
yeah, he's the one that extended the game.
I still remember Justin Timberlake, a Memphis fan at the when he was hosting the ESPYs that year, walked up to Mario Chalmers and he's like, "Hey, Coach Calipari, can I just show you something?" And he put his hand in Mario Chalmers' face. He goes, "Watch me, like that. Just do that," you know. So sometimes you fall into that, and Tech took advantage of it. Now, you can debate the merits of fouling up 3 in that moment, but it was a very I fell asleep. So as soon as I saw the highlight, the first thing I thought was, man, that's a lot like Chalmers. That's a lot like Chalmers. And look, if it's not a club in his bag, it's not a club in his bag. But then Tech comes back and fights through and wins in overtime.
Yep. Craig, did you stay up for it?
Yeah, I mean, I never went to sleep. So, yeah, I was up for it. And I think the big thing he's getting questioned for today is not calling a timeout before the final shot and just letting his, guy get the ball and roll with it. And, hindsight's 2020, should have called a timeout, set something up or whatever. The conversation is in Arkansas today. It's a negative one, that's for sure, and it's one filled with a lot of fury based on the reactions immediately last night, and rightfully so. That was a game you felt like was in hand, and it was going to be this banner night for Arkansas basketball, which obviously invested huge to bring this coach into the fold, and to get to the Sweet 16 is cool, but, I mean, the Elite Eight was right there, and something they should have been celebrating today, but credit to Texas Tech for – just not giving up, just continuing to fight and continuing to make big buckets down the stretch. I mean, the way they polished that game off there at the end, made some really tough baskets to put it away, and I just was very impressed. And I know Joey McGuire coined the whole West Texas tough thing, but I think that just sort of applies to Tech in general, and McCasland really leans into the toughest team thing. Mm-hmm. I don't know that you can really – everybody works hard. Everybody's got tough people, so I don't know that you can always pull that card and always claim to be the toughest. But when you have people that believe in it and fight that way, then you can win a lot of cool stuff. And that's what they did last night. They were the toughest team when all was said and done. They just kept fighting and swinging, and then eventually, landed some huge blows that turned the tide and eventually put that thing away. And it was mightily impressive, and it was awesome to watch. because I have a sister who's a Tech grad, and she was nowhere in my messages, and all of a sudden at like 11:30 or whatever the hell it was last night, here's this exclamation point riddled text message like, oh my God, can you believe this? And that was pretty cool to see, and I can only imagine what a lot of other Tech households were like watching that unfold last night, because it was amazing, and it was huge for that program. And again, I don't want to make everything about league stuff, because this is not the way it really always works, but the Big 12 desperately needed that. That was a massacre without that win last night. I mean, that was the nightmare scenario we talked about yesterday when we said, well, you could get 3 teams in the Elite Eight. You could get one team just still standing there left to play on Friday if things go badly, and it looked like that was what was going to happen, was the worst-case scenario. And then Tech pulls that out and really, saved the night for the league, I feel like, because if we were walking here today and you'd gone 0 for 3, that would have been a bitter pill to swallow for your Mark.
All right, speaking of your sister, Daniel, son-in-law, David, this was this morning, very, very early this morning. David, where was the clock when you turned the Tech game off last night? That was absolutely insane, and I can't think of another time when I saw Jennifer act such a fool. Excited. She's a Tech grad. She was excited.
Absolutely. Now, I want to address another thing that just was said on this show. Craig said he never went to sleep. The fact that you even asked him if he was awake at 11 p.m.
Yeah, he's the late night owl.
You're if Craig goes to sleep before 11 p.m., he has COVID or something.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're exactly right.
You watched that thing late night? Yeah, I was watching Good Morning America before I went to bed. No, I'm kidding. I didn't go that late.
I did get an email from you at about 8 o'clock this morning. So you,
I mean, sometimes
you just got to get up and pee sometime.
Yeah, exactly right.
So a couple of things. We're going to hear from Grant McCasland, a short comment from him in just a second. We'll also hear what John Calipari said about the last seconds of the game once Tech took the lead. But here is Grant McCasland following the win and the comeback against Arkansas.
Obviously, what an unbelievable college basketball game. And, in watching Arkansas play on film, it just seemed like every game that they were in, there was these pretty dramatic runs of teams finding ways to either catch up or lose the lead. And they're such a dynamic team. Coach Cal's doing an unbelievable job with their belief, and they got basically their full roster back, even though it was limited. And so we knew going into the game that, man, it was just going to be difficult to defend them. And the way they started the game and the shots they were making, we made some decisions to go under ball screens, and it just felt like we were too passive. But that's to their credit, man. They came out and punched us good. And I just kept telling these guys in timeouts that we're going to win the game. And D5, I don't know what he started the game out, 0 for quite a few from 3, and Christian was 0 for, and I'm just telling him we're going to make them when it matters. And I believed it with all my heart. And that's Red Raider basketball. It doesn't matter what the score is, what's stacked against us. I think we got down 16 at one point in the second half, and telling JT we got to start getting stops and rebound. And I thought one possession was just huge, was Federico in there just getting, I don't know how many offensive rebounds he got on that one possession. And I thought that showed the grit of Red Raider basketball. And Chris ended up making a 3 at the end of it, and that started the real belief that we were going to win the game. Man, what a tremendous atmosphere, and it's an awesome opportunity to be on this team with these guys, because nobody believes more in each other than this group, and it's really a blessing to be a part of.
So they're now into the next round. We'll get to that and also the game tonight in a moment. Craig brought up Calipari and Arkansas. Here was John Calipari when he was asked about why did you not call a timeout on the last possession.
If I may go back one more thing. I mean, the last possession there in overtime, any consideration to calling a timeout there?
Yeah, but in my career, I let that go. Let the guy get to the rim. They're not going to foul you. And with that kind of time, just me. You call a timeout, now you got to worry about what he's doing, how he's playing, the inbound, what are you doing? So I usually let that go. Now, because it ended the way it is, yeah, I wish I would have called a timeout. But 99% of the time, I let that go. Because now I know what they're doing. They know what we're doing. That's why we did it. End of the half, we wanted to go at one guy, and we did. Really, he made a hard bump on DJ that got him kind of off balance on the shot, but, you know, it was what we wanted.
You can tell he's devastated, but hell of a year.
Well, he could
for
smell
Arkansas. Yeah.
You could smell the Elite Eight. I mean, it was right there for the taking, and the next thing you know, you find yourself in overtime and then losing the game. And so I'm sure he was just at a loss, really, once the cameras were turned off. But he's been there plenty of times. He's had lots of big losses and lots of big wins. But, yeah, that was a brutal loss for Arkansas. I mean, no doubt about it. They were booking flights, or not flights because they're still in the same spot, but you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
They were gearing up for the next game, and instead it's Texas Tech moving on, and what a massive win for them. And obviously, like I said, it matters for the league a great deal because we'll get to the other results from last night. But that was big for Grant McCasland and that program just for themselves alone. And yeah, a lot of people were mightily impressed. I know I was last night watching that because there was no reason to believe that was going to be the way it ended.
Well, no, there wasn't. I kind of dozed off and then woke up about the time when the ESPN alert came up on my phone when I went to check the score.